Excerpt from local newspaper. Ominous unknown killer still at large. After weeks of killings, the ominous unknown killer is still on the rise. After little evidence has been found, a young boy states that he survived one of the killer's attacks and bravely tells his story. "I had a bad dream and woke up in the middle of the night," says the boy. "I saw that for some reason the window was open, even though I remember it being closed before I went to bed. I got up and shut it once more. Afterwards, I simply crawled under my covers and tried to go back to sleep. That's when I had a strange feeling, like someone was watching me. I looked up and nearly jumped out of my bed. There, in the little ray of light illuminating from my curtains, were a pair of two eyes. These weren't regular eyes, they were dark, ominous eyes. They were bordered in black, and just plain out terrified me. That's when I saw his mouth, a long, horrendous smile that made every hair on my body stand up. The figure stood there, watching me. Finally, after what seemed like forever, he said it. A simple phrase, but said it in a way only a madman could speak. "Go to sleep." I let out a scream. That's what sent him at me. He pulled out a knife, aimed at my heart, jumped on my bed. I fought him back. I kicked, I punched, I rolled around, trying to knock him off me. That's when my dad burst in with his 12-gauge shotgun. He aimed it at the man. He almost got him. But before he could pull the trigger, the man leapt out to the side. The man threw the knife in a Bowie knife style into my dad's shoulder. He let go of the gun. The man probably would have finished him off if one of the neighbors hadn't alerted the police. They drove into the parking lot and ran towards the door. The man turned and ran down the hallway. I heard a smash, like glass breaking. As I came out of my room, I saw the window that was pointing towards the back of my house was broken. I looked out to see him vanish into the distance. I can tell you one thing. I'll never forget that face. Those cold, evil eyes. That psychotic smile. They'll never leave my head. Police still are on the lookout for this man. If you see anyone that fits the description in the story, please contact your local police department. Jeff and his family had moved into the new neighborhood. His dad had gotten a promotion at work, and they thought it would be best to live in one of those fancy neighborhoods. Jeff and his brother Lou couldn't complain, though. A new, better house. What was not to love? As they were getting unpacked, one of their neighbors came by. "Hello," she said. "I'm Barbara. I live across the street from you. Well, I just wanted to introduce myself and to introduce my son." She turned around and called her son over. "Billy, these are our new neighbors." Billy said hi and ran back to play in his yard. "Well," said Jeff's mom, "I'm Margaret, this is my husband Peter, and our two sons Jeff and Lou." They each introduced themselves, then Barbara invited them to her son's birthday. Jeff and his brother were about to object when their mother said that they would love to. Jeff went up to his mom. "Mom, why did you invite us to some kid's party? If they haven't noticed, I'm not some dumb kid." "Jeff," says his mom, "we just moved here. We should show that we want to spend time with our neighbors. Now we're going to that party, and that's final." Jeff started to talk, but stopped himself, knowing that he can't do anything. Whenever his mom says something, it's final. He walks up to his room and plops down on his bed. He sits there looking at the ceiling when suddenly he gets a weird feeling. Not so much a pain, but a weird feeling. He dismisses it as if some random feeling. He hears his mom calling him down to get his stuff, and he walks down to get it. The next day, Jeff walked down the stairs to get breakfast and get ready for school. As he sat there, eating his breakfast, he once again got that feeling. This time it was stronger. It gave him a slight tugging pain, but he once again dismissed it. As he and Lou finished breakfast, they walked down to the bus stop. They sat there waiting for the bus, and then, all of a sudden, some kid on a skateboard jumps over them, only inches above their laps. They both jump back in surprise. "Hey, what the hell, kid?" The kid landed and turned back to them. He kicked his skateboard up and caught it with his hand. He wears an Aeropostale shirt and ripped blue jeans. "Well, well, well, looks like we got some new meat." Suddenly 2 other kids appeared. One is super skinny and the other is huge. "Well, since you're new here, I'd like to introduce ourselves. Over there's Keith." Jeff and Lou look at the skinny kid. He has a dopey face that you would expect a sidekick to have. And he's Troy. They look over at the fat kid. Talk about a tub of lard. This kid looks like he hadn't exercised since he was crawling. "And I," says the kid, "am Randy. Now, for all the kids in this neighborhood, there's a small price of bus fare, if you catch my drift." Lou stands up, ready to punch the light out of the kid's eyes, when his 2 friends pull a knife up at him. "I had hoped you'd be more cooperative, but it seems we must do things the hard way." The kid walks up to Lou and takes his wallet out of his pocket. Jeff gets that feeling again. Now it's truly strong, a burning sensation. He stands up, but Lou gestures him to sit down. Jeff ignores it and walks up to the kid. "Listen here, you little punk. Give back my bro's wallet or else." Randy puts the wallet in his pocket and pulls a knife. "Oh? And what you gonna do?" Just as he finishes his sentence, Jeff pops the kid in the nose. Kid reaches for his face. Jeff grabs the kid's wrist and breaks it. Randy screams and Jeff grabs the knife from his hand. Troy and Keith rush him, but Jeff's too quick. He throws Randy to the ground. Keith lashes out at him, but Jeff ducks and stabs him in the arm. Keith drops his knife and falls to the ground screaming. Troy rushes him too, but Jeff doesn't even need the knife. He punches Troy straight in the stomach. He goes down. As he falls, he pukes all over the place. Lou can do nothing but look in amazement at Jeff. "Jeff, how did you—" That's all he says. They see the bus coming, and know they'd be blamed for the whole thing, so they start running as fast as they can. As they run, they look back and see the bus driver rushing over to Randy and them. As Jeff and Lou make it to school, they don't dare tell what happens. All they do is sit and listen. Lou just thought of that as his brother beating up a few kids, but Jeff knew it was more. It was something scary. As he got that feeling, he felt how powerful it was, the urge to just hurt someone. He didn't like how it sounded, but he couldn't help but feel happy. He felt that strange feeling go away and stay away for the entire day of school, even as he walked home due to the whole thing near the bus stop. And how now he probably wouldn't be taking the bus anymore. He felt happy. When he got home, his parents asked him how his day was. He says, in a somewhat ominous voice, "It was a wonderful day." Next morning, he heard a knock at the front door. He walks down to find 2 police officers at the door, his mother looking back at him with an angry look. "Jeff, these officers tell me that you attacked 3 kids, that it wasn't a regular fight, and that they were stabbed? Stabbed, son." Jeff's gaze fell to the floor, showing his mother that it was true. "Mom, they were the ones who pulled the knives on me and Lou." "Son," says one of the cops, "we found 3 kids, 2 stabbed, 1 having a bruise on his stomach, and we have witnesses proving that you fled the scene. Now what does that tell us?" Jeff knew it was no use. He could say him and Lou had been attacked, but there was no proof it was not them who attacked first. They couldn't say that they weren't fleeing, because, truth be told, they were. So, Jeff couldn't defend himself, or Lou. "Son, call down your brother." Jeff couldn't do it, since it was him who beat up all 3 of the kids. "Sir, it was me. I was the one who beat up those kids. Lou tried to hold me back, but he couldn't stop me." The cop looked at his partner. They both nodded. "Well, kid looks like a year in juvie." "Wait," says Lou. We all looked up to see him holding a knife. The officers pulled their guns and locked them on Lou. It was me. I beat up those little punks. I have the marks to prove it. He lifted up his sleeve to reveal cuts and bruises, as if he were in a struggle. Son, just put down the knife, said the officer. Lou held up the knife and dropped it on the ground, put his hands up and walked over to the cops. No, Lou, it was me. I did it. Jeff had tears running down his face. Huh, poor bro trying to take the blame for what I did. Well, take me away. The police led Lou out to the patrol car. Lou, tell them it was me. Tell them I was the one who beat up those kids. Lou's mother put her hand on Jeff's shoulder. Jeff, please, you don't have to lie. We know it's Lou. You can stop. Jeff watched helplessly as the cop's car sped off with Lou inside. A few minutes later, Jeff's dad pulls into the driveway, seeing Jeff's face and knowing something's wrong. Son, what is it? Jeff can't answer. His vocal cords are strained from crying. Instead, Jeff's mother walks his father inside to break the bad news to him. As Jeff weeps in the driveway, after an hour or so, Jeff walks back into the house, seeing his parents were both shocked, sad, and disappointed. He can't look at them. He can't see how they think of Lou when it was his fault. He just goes to sleep, trying to get the whole thing off his mind. 2 days go by, with no word from Lou at JDC. No friends to hang out with. Nothing but sadness and guilt. That is until Saturday, when Jeff is woke up by his mother, with a happy, sunny face. Jeff, it's the day, she says as she opens the curtains and lets light flood into Jeff's room. What's today? Says Jeff as he stirs awake. Why, it's Billy's party. Jeff is not fully awake. Mom, you're joking, right? You don't expect me to go to some kid's party after... There was a long pause. Jeff, we both know what happened. I think this party could be the thing that brightens up the past few days. Now, get dressed. Jeff's mother walks out of the room and down to get herself ready. Jeff fights himself to get up. He picks up a random shirt, pair of jeans, walks down the stairs. He sees his mother and father all dressed up. His mother in a dress, his father in a suit. He thinks why they would ever wear such fancy clothes to go to a kid's party. Son, is that all you're going to wear? Says Jeff's mother. Better than wearing too much, he says. His mother pushes down the feelings to yell at him and hides it with a smile. Jeff, we may be overdressed, but this is how you go if you want to make an impression, says his father. Jeff grunts and goes back up to his room. I don't have any fancy clothes, he yells down the stairs. Just pick something, says his mother. He looks around his closet for what he would call fancy, and he finds a pair of black dress pants he had for special occasions and an undershirt. He can't find a shirt to go with it, though. He looks around and finds only striped and patterned shirts, none of which go with dress pants. Finally, he finds a white hoodie. It's lying on a chair, and puts it on. He walks downstairs to find his parents are all ready. You're wearing that? They both say. His mother looks at her watch. Oh, no time to change. Let's just go, she says as she herds Jeff and his father out the door. They cross the street over to Barbara and Billy's house. They knock on the door, and it appears Barbara, just like my parents, way overdressed. As they walk inside, all we see is adults. No kids. The kids are out in the yard. Jeff, how about you go out and meet some of the kids, says Barbara. Jeff walks outside to the yard full of kids, and they're running around in weird cowboy costumes and shooting each other with plastic guns. He might as well be standing in a Toys R Us. Suddenly, a kid comes up to him and hands him a toy gun and a hat. Hey, mister, you want to play? He says. No, kid. I'm way too old for this stuff. The kid looks at him with that weird puppy dog face. Please? Says the kid. Fine, says Jeff. He puts on the hat and starts to pretend shoot at the kids. At first he thinks it's totally ridiculous. And then he starts to actually have fun. But it's the first time he's done something that takes his mind off of Lou, so he plays with the kids for a while, until he hears a noise. It's a weird, rolling noise. Then it hits him. Just as it does, Randy, Troy, and Keith all jump over the fence on their skateboards. Jeff drops the fake gun and rips off the hat. Randy looks at Jeff with burning hatred. Hello? Jeff, is it? We have some unfinished business. Jeff sees the bruised nose on his face. I think we're even. I beat the shit out of you, and you got my brother sent to JDC. Oh no, I don't go for even. I go for winning. You may have kicked our asses that one day, but not today. As he said that, Randy rushes Jeff. They both fall to the ground. Randy punches Jeff in the nose, and Jeff grabs him by the ears and headbutts him. Jeff pushes Randy off of him, and both rise to their feet. Kids were screaming, parents were running out of the house. Troy and Keith both pull guns out of their pockets. No one interrupts or guts will fly, they say. Randy pulls a knife on Jeff and stabs him in the shoulder. Jeff screams and falls on his knees. Randy starts kicking him in the face. After 3 kicks, though, Jeff grabs his foot and twists it, causing Randy to fall to the ground. Jeff stands up, walks towards the back door. Troy grabs him, though. Need some help? He picks Jeff up by the back of his collar and throws him through the patio door. As Jeff tries to stand, he is kicked down to the ground. Randy repeatedly starts kicking Jeff until he starts to cough up blood. Come on, Jeff, fight me! He picks Jeff up and throws him into the kitchen. Randy sees a bottle of vodka on the counter and smashes the glass over Jeff's head. Fight! He throws Jeff back into the living room. Come on, Jeff! Look at me! Jeff glances up, his face riddled with blood. I was the one who got your brother sent to JDC, and now you're just gonna sit there and let him rot in there for a whole year? You should be ashamed. Jeff stands up. Oh, finally you stand and fight. Jeff is now on his feet, blood and vodka on his face. Once again he gets that strange feeling, the one in which he hasn't felt for a while. Finally, he's up, says Randy as he runs at Jeff. And that's when it happens. Something inside Jeff snaps. His psyche is destroyed. All rational thinking is gone. All he can do is kill. He grabs Randy and pile drives him into the ground. He gets on top of him and punches him straight in the heart. The punch causes Randy's heart to stop. Randy's gasping for breath. Jeff hammers down on him, punch after punch. Blood gushes from Randy's body until he takes one final breath and dies. Everyone's looking at Jeff now. The parents, the crying kids, even Troy and Keith. Although they easily break from their gaze and point their guns at Jeff. Jeff sees the guns trained on him and runs for the stairs. As he runs, Troy and Keith let out fire on him, each shot missing. Jeff runs up the stairs. He hears Troy and Keith follow up from behind. As they let out their final round of bullets, Jeff ducks into the bathroom. He grabs the towel rack and rips it off the wall. Troy and Keith race up, knives ready. Troy swings his knife at Jeff, who backs away, and bangs the towel rack against Troy's face. Troy goes down hard, and now all that's left is Keith. He's more agile than Troy, though, and ducks when Jeff swings the towel rack. He drops the knife, grabs Jeff by the neck. He pushes him against the wall. A thing of bleach falls down on top of us from the top shelf. It burnt both of them. They both started to scream. Jeff wiped his eyes as best he could. He pulled back the towel rack, swung it straight into Keith's head. As he lay there, bleeding to death, he lets out an ominous smile. What's so funny? Asks Jeff. Keith pulled out a lighter and switches it on. It's funny, he says, is that you're covered in bleach and alcohol. Jeff's eyes widen as Keith throws the lighter at him. As soon as the flame made contact with him, the flames ignite the alcohol in the vodka. While the alcohol burned him, the bleach bleached his skin. Jeff let out a terrible screech as he caught on fire. He tried to roll out the fire, but it was no use. The alcohol made him a walking inferno. He ran down the hall, fell down the stairs. Everyone started screaming as they saw Jeff, now a man on fire, drop to the ground nearly dead. The last thing Jeff saw was his mother and other parents trying to extinguish the flame. And that's when he passed out. When Jeff woke up, he had a cast wrapped around his face. He couldn't see anything. He felt a cast on his shoulders, stitches all over his body. He tried to stand up, but he realized that there was some tube in his arm. When he tried to get up, it fell out. The nurse rushed in. "I don't think you can get out of bed just yet," she said as she put him back into the bed and reinserted the tube. Jeff sat there with no vision, no idea of what his surroundings were. Finally, after hours, he heard his mother. "Honey, are you okay?" she asked. Jeff couldn't answer, though. His face was covered. He was unable to speak. "Oh, honey, I have great news. After the witnesses told the police that Randy confessed of trying to attack you, they decided to let Lou go." That made Jeff almost bolt up, stopping halfway, remembering the tube coming out of his arm. "He'll be out by tomorrow. Then you two will be able to be together again." Jeff's mother hugged Jeff, says her goodbyes. And the next couple of weeks were those where Jeff was visited by his family. Then came the day where his bandages were to be removed. His family were all there to see what he would look like. As the doctors unwrapped the bandages from Jeff's face, everyone was on the edge of their seats. They waited until the last bandage holding the cover over his face was almost removed. "Well, let's hope for the best," said the doctor. He quickly pulled the cloth, letting the rest fall from Jeff's face. Jeff's mother screamed at the sight of his face. Lou and Jeff's dad stare, awestruck at his face. What happened to my face?" Jeff said. He rushed out of bed and ran to the bathroom. He looked in the mirror and saw the cause of distress. His face. It's horrible. His lips were burnt to a deep shade of red. His face was turned into a pure white color. His hair singed from brown to black. He slowly put his hands to his face. It had a sort of leathery feel to it now. He looked back at his family, then back at the mirror. "Jeff," said Lou, "it's not so bad." "Not bad?" said Jeff. "It's perfect." His family were equally surprised. Jeff started laughing uncontrollably. His parents noticed that his left eye and hand were twitching. Jeff, are you okay?" "Okay? I've never felt more happy. Look at me. His face goes perfectly with me." He couldn't stop laughing. He stroked his face, feeling it, looking at it in the mirror. What caused this? He may recall that when Jeff was fighting Randy, something in his mind, some sanity snapped. Now he was left as a crazy killing machine. That is, his parents didn't know. "Doctor," said Jeff's mom, "is my son all right, in the head?" "Oh, yes, this is typical behavior for a patient that's had a very large amount of painkillers. If his behavior doesn't change in a few weeks, bring him back here. We'll give him some psychological testing." "Oh, thank you, doctor." Jeff's mother went over to Jeff. "Jeff, sweetie, it's time to go." Jeff looks away from the mirror. His face still formed into a crazy smile. "Okay, Mom." Jeff's mom took him by the shoulder and took him to get his clothes. "This is what he came in," says the lady at the desk. Jeff's mom looked down to see the black dress pants and white hoodie her son wore. Now they were clean of blood and now stitched together. Jeff's mother led him to his room and made him put his clothes on. And then they left, not knowing that this was their final day of life. That night, Jeff's mother woke to a sound coming from their bathroom. It sounded as if someone was crying. She slowly walked over to see what it was. When she looked into the bathroom, she saw a horrendous sight. Jeff had taken a knife and carved a smile into his cheeks. "Jeff, what are you doing?" asked his mother. Jeff looked over to his mother. I couldn't help but... I couldn't help... I couldn't keep smiling, Mommy. It hurt after a while. Now I can smile forever." Jeff's mother noticed his eyes, ringed in black. "Jeff, your eyes!" His eyes were bordered by black, seemingly never closing. I couldn't see my face. I got tired and my eyes started to close. I burned out the eyelids so I could forever see myself, my new face. Jeff's mother slowly started to back away, seeing that her son was going insane. What's wrong, Mommy? Aren't I beautiful? Yes, son, she said. Yes, you are. Let me go get Daddy so he can see your face. She ran into the room and shook Jeff's dad awake from his sleep. Honey, get the gun, She stopped as she saw Jeff in the doorway holding the knife. Mommy, you lied. That's the last thing they heard as Jeff rushed them with the knife, gutting both of them. His brother Lou woke up, startled by some noise. He didn't hear anything else, so he just shut his eyes and tried to go back to sleep. As he was on the border of slumber, he got the strangest feeling that someone was watching him. He looked up before Jeff's hand covered his mouth. He slowly raised the knife, ready to plunge it into Lou. Lou threshed here and there, trying to escape Jeff's grip. Shh, I said. Just go to sleep.